The BRICS started in an era where Western dominance was very strong.
As Jai said, we have, and of course the fact that the relationship between our countries, I would argue, is the strongest it's ever been.
What about the BRICS? What would India like the BRICS to be? Economic grouping, or ideological one? What's the value of it going to be?
So it's not like the Commonwealth, it's not like the NATO, it's not like the G7. It's not like anything which had been conceptualized earlier.
Why, considered maybe from the north, we don't see why the BRICS was necessary, given the fact that the G20 exists. But I heard your answer.
Yeah, but I must tell you, I'm still struck by how insecure the North is when you speak about the BRICS. Somehow something seems to get under people's skin.
Which brings me to the BRICS and the rise of middle powers, because that is one of the shifts that we see today. To what extent do you think that is a challenge to the West, or maybe that can be sort of the bridge, especially in a world where we will see continued competition between the US and China? And I'm going to ask Minister Jaishankar first, but I'd love for both of you to come in as well.
I thought maybe the BRICS one, you wanted the US.
After you, Jai, please.
Look, again, I think it's important to go back to how it began. The BRICS started in an era where Western dominance was very strong. The premier gathering of the world was the G7. And you had a number of significant powers in the world who felt that, well, they were not part of the G7, but maybe they also brought value to the table by sitting and discussing with others. So in a sense, you had a collection of these countries. It was originally 4. South Africa joined later. If you look at it, it's a very interesting group because it's geographically as disparate as it can be. Yet it is bound by the fact that these discussions we've had over a decade and a half have been very useful for all of us. Now, like any product, you test it in the market at some point. We tested it last year and asked people, so how many of you want to join BRICS? And we got almost 30 countries who were willing to join BRICS. So clearly, if 30 countries saw value in it, there must be something good we've done. So I think it's important today to make a distinction between being non-West and anti-West. I would certainly characterize India as a country which is non-West, but which has an extremely strong relationship with Western countries, getting better by the day. Not everybody else necessarily in that grouping might qualify for that description, but the contribution the BRICS has made, if one looks at the G7 and how it evolved into the G20, I think in a way, those additional 13 members who came into its bigger grouping, 5 of them are BRICS members. The fact that there was another group which was meeting regularly and discussing and debating, I think certainly was an input into the expansion of the G7 into the G20. So I think we did a service to the world.
Yeah. Secretary Blinken?
I'm tempted to say what my friend said and leave it at that. Look, what we don't need to do and what we're not doing is trying to somehow design the world into rigid blocks. Each and every one of the issues that we have to deal with and deal with in the interest of the American people may have different collections and coalitions of countries that are focused on it, that bring certain experiences, certain capacities. And I think about it as variable geometry. We're putting together a puzzle with collections of countries and not just countries, organizations of different sizes and different shapes to deal with a given problem. As Jai said, we have, and of course the fact that the relationship between our countries, I would argue, is the strongest it's ever been. It makes no difference that India happens to be a leading member of BRICS. We're a leading member of the G7. We have the G20, and we have a multiplicity of things that we're doing together every single day in different ways of organizing ourselves. India and the United States working together in AUKUS, working together, in the Quad, working together in a variety of other fora. All of this goes to the point that the complexity and the multiplicity of the challenges we have demands that we find different ways to work together, and they shouldn't be done on an exclusive basis. Look, our default, of course, is to work in the first instance with fellow democracies. That's only normal and natural, but we are not only willing, we are actively working with any country that wants to solve a particular problem and wants to do so within the context of a rules-based order. That's the way we approach things.
What about the BRICS? What would India like the BRICS to be? Economic grouping, or ideological one? What's the value of it going to be?
Look, it's hard to put a label on it, and we all like putting labels. That's what we do for a profession. That's why you do what you do and I do what I do. But some things are not so easily defined, and BRICS is one for this reason. I can't say that it's, I couldn't put an ideological label on it, in the sense, if you look at the BRICS members, even the original members, we are a very diverse group. We are an exception to the normal rules on which groups are formed. Normally countries who approximate geographically to each other or have some particular shared history or some kind of ethnic or linguistic commonality. This is normally the basis to create a group. Now, BRICS defies all those assumptions. So it's not like the Commonwealth, it's not like the NATO, it's not like the G7. It's not like anything which had been conceptualized earlier. What it had, if I were to really look at what brought BRICS countries together, it was a sense among very major powers that they were not getting their due place or due share of global conversations and decision making, and they would be better off if they came together and then, shall I say, sent a collective message. So that is how BRICS started, and since then I think clearly they must be doing something right if so many countries want to join BRICS, and so many countries actually have joined BRICS. So we've had an expansion from the original 4. South Africa joined, and then it has become a double-digit membership in Joburg in 23. And in 24, last year in Kazan, we also added dialogue partners, the concept of dialogue partners. So the group has grown. Yes, we do discuss economic issues. We also discuss political issues. It's not like we don't. So I wouldn't straitjacket it. I wouldn't. As I said, it's hard to find a single adjective which would do BRICS justice.
Now there is a club, the BRICS. Why this club? And do you consider that the BRICS will expand?
Well, to be honest, why the club? Because there was another club. It was called the G7, and you wouldn't let anybody else into that club. So we said we go and form our own club. So we decided, okay, we are also, good citizens of good standing who have a place in the global society, and therefore this is how typically clubs multiply. So it started, and as it started, like many clubs, it gained a life of its own. Over a period of time, others saw value in it as well. So in a sense, I would say, it's actually a very interesting group, because if you look at it, typically any club or any group has either a geographical contiguity or some common historical experience, or a very strong economic connect. There are some orthodox binding factors. But when you have a Brazil in South America and Russia in Europe and India and China and Asia, and later on South Africa was added, the common feature was really, I would say, big countries rising in the international system. Russia perhaps had already risen, so would not necessarily qualify in that, who felt that their coming together would give them greater weight and greater influence. Now, what has happened between when the BRICS started, approximately 2 decades ago, to where we are now, is we see, particularly in the last few years, a lot of interest in countries joining the grouping. We expanded the BRICS. We took the decision to expand the BRICS last year in Johannesburg, and we extended invitations to more countries, which virtually doubled the number. We will be meeting soon in Kazan next month. And we know, I mean, as I travel around the world, I frankly see more and more enthusiasm, more interest really in countries wanting to be associated in some form or the other. BRICS, of course, has itself evolved. I mean, in all of this, we've also created a bank, the New Development Bank. I think in on different issues, we have collective positions, but there are many issues on which our interests also diverge. I mean, India and Russia and China and Brazil, South Africa would not, necessarily agree on all issues, and in certain cases, maybe our positions can be quite divergent.
Yes, thank you very much. No, I noted what you said about the G7, and I fully agree with you. But since then, the G20 has been created during the financial crisis, and it was a good answer to a difficult moment. And that's why, considered maybe from the North, we don't see why the BRICS was necessary, given the fact that the G20 exists. But I heard your answer.
Yeah, but I must tell you, I'm still struck by how insecure the North is when you speak about the BRICS. Somehow something seems to get under people's skin.
Yeah.
And here's an observation. If there is a G20, did the G7 disband? Has it stopped meeting? No, it still continues. So if the G20 exists, the G20 is there, but the G7 still exists. Then why can't the G20 be there and the BRICS also exist? So we're all constituents. I mean,
yeah, excellent answer as always. Thank you very much.